is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one, only you, Jesus. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one, only you, Jesus. Lamb of God, anointed one, who was and is to come, seated on the throne above. Holy, holy, righteous one, who shed his blood. You proved to us the Father's love. Jesus Christ, be lifted up. Holy, holy, Lamb of God, anointed one, who was and is to come, seated on the throne above. Holy, holy, righteous one, who shed his blood. You proved to us the Father's love. Jesus Christ, be lifted up. Holy, holy, Lamb of God, anointed one, who was and is to come, seated on the throne above. Holy, holy, righteous one, who shed his blood, who proved to us the Father's love. Jesus Christ, be lifted up. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one, only you, Jesus. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one, only you, Jesus. There is no one, only you, Jesus. There is no one, only you, Jesus.
So we've been in a series talking through Nehemiah and about reaching our community. And one thing that I wanted to bring to you guys is kind of a story to kind of contextualize what we're going to talk about today, is a story from my past. For those of you who don't know, I'm a civil engineer. I went to college at UT Arlington for a couple of years and got my degree from there. And at the end of my time there, we had to do a senior project. And it's basically where it's a pass or fail. There's no kind of points for trying. It's you either did it or you didn't. And then when you get to the end of that semester, it determines whether you get to walk at the end of the year. And so it's a big, big deal. And the unfortunate part for me is that I had to trust other people to do that. You're put in a group, and that group has to work together. And if anyone knows me from my past, I don't like that. I want to do it. It rests on my shoulders. And if I fail, I failed because of me. And if I passed because I did the work. So having to sit there and trust these people to do this, and I was very fortunate. I had 5 people in the group. 2 of the men were guys that I really trusted and that worked with me on a lot of projects, on a lot of assignments, spent a lot of time down in the dungeon just stressing out together. But there were 2 guys in the group that I had not spent a lot of time with. And so when we got assigned to them, it was kind of stressful because it's like these are kind of new guys. I don't know who they are, how they work, and we'll see how it goes. And the thing is, you get 16 weeks. And we get to about week 14, and we had divvied up all the assignments. We'd given them, because we had known each other, we took all the important stuff and kind of gave them the leftovers. Just like, all right, we don't know you guys, so here's just some stuff for you to kind of do and help us out. And we get to week 14, we go in, and we're supposed to give like a pre-presentation on our project. And these guys had done absolutely nothing. One of the guys had to do was calculate the volume of a little basin, and he hadn't even done that. And I was furious. I was ready to start just throwing stuff across the room, kicking them out of the group. But all that to say, and I just wanted to shake them and say, do you understand what's at stake here? Do you get what happens if you don't do your part? Do you get what happens if you don't step up and just take 5 minutes to calculate the area of this little basin that wastewater goes into? That's all you got to do. And it dawned on me on that moment how easy it is to lose sight of what's at stake. And it also showed me how important even the smallest of things are, how important everybody doing their part is. Even the littlest of things, like even just that little, it didn't seem like much. It was one calculation and just drawing up a little thing and it was done. But him not doing that would have hurt all of us. It would have hurt the entire project. And we all would have failed. Luckily, we got together, we banded together after that meeting. We had a come to Jesus meeting of sorts of like, we've got to figure this out, and we got through it. But that's something that we kind of see here in Nehemiah speak to. To this point, we've seen Nehemiah had gone before the king and said, my city that I've grown up in is in shambles and is broken, and I want to go home and rebuild it. And then we see God work in a mighty way to provide everything that Nehemiah would need to go back and rebuild Jerusalem. And so that's where we pick up today. We're going to start at the end of Nehemiah chapter 2. So if you guys would like to stand for the reading of God's word, we're going to pick up in Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 17, and we're going to read through chapter 3, verse 5. And it says there, then I said to them, you see the trouble we are in, how Jerusalem lies in ruins with its gates burned. Come, let us build the wall of Jerusalem, that we may no longer suffer derision. And I told them of the hand of my God that had been upon me for good, and also of the words that the king had spoken to me. And they said, let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for the good work. But when Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the Ammonite, the servant of Geshem the Arab, heard of it, they jeered at us and despised us and said, what is this thing that you are doing? Are you rebelling against the king? And then I replied to them, the God of heaven will make us prosper, and we, his servants, will arise and build, but you have no portion or right or claim in Jerusalem. Then Eliashib, the high priest, rose up with his brothers the priests, and they built the sheep gate. They consecrated it and set its doors and consecrated it as far as the Tower of the 100, as far as the Tower of Hananel. And next to him the men of Jericho built. Next to them Zakur, the son of Imri, built. The sons of Hassenaah built the fish gate. They laid its beams and set its doors and its bolts and its bars. And next to them Miramoth, the son of Uriah, the son of Hakoz, repaired. And next to them Meshullam, the son of Berechiah, son of Meshezabel, repaired. And next to them Zadok, the son of Baana, repaired. And next to them the Tekoites repaired. But their nobles would not stoop to serve their Lord. You may be seated. And so right here we see in the whole chapter of Nehemiah chapter 3 is basically kind of going through and giving a laundry list of all of the men that had worked on rebuilding the wall and what they did. It's basically just an account documenting the faithful work of all these men in Jerusalem. And it all starts with Nehemiah coming back. And so I want to look at this story and I want to slow it down and I want to break it down bit by bit at first. And so we're going to talk through this, and then after that I have 2 questions we're going to wrestle with. So let's slow it down and let's go back to the beginning and look at Nehemiah and see how he started. So when Nehemiah had returned to the people, he said, let us rise and go up and build. And it said, so they strengthened their hands for the good work. These people, when they heard Nehemiah's call to go back and build, they didn't just talk about it. They didn't just kind of sit around and say, oh, it would be nice to have walls. Like, it would be nice to have air conditioning. It would be nice to have these things put together. I hope somebody does that for me one day. I'm just going to wait for somebody else to come along that has the skills and the vision and all those stuff, and I'm just going to wait for them to do it. No, these men strengthened their own hands and got their hands in the dirt and got to work. They didn't wait. They had seen the Lord moving, and they leaned in to say, hey, how can I do my part? How can I be a part of rebuilding this city? How can I be a part of making a difference right here, right now? They didn't look at their skills. I'm sure all of these guys weren't masons, and we know that. We'll actually talk in a minute that some of them were priests. Some of them had many other professions. But they saw, hey, the walls need to be rebuilt. So I may be a carpenter or owner of a vineyard, or I may be a priest, or I may be some other profession, but what we need right now is a mason, so I'm going to be a mason. I'm going to do what needs to be done because our town needs it, right? And one of the things that I noticed that as you keep reading and when you get down to chapter 3, verse 1, noticing the first people that got to work. It said, then Eliashib, the high priest, rose up with his brothers, and they built the sheep gate. It wasn't the people that got up first, it was the leaders. It was the priest. They started working, and they showed the people the right way to go. And so before we kind of get too far into it, like looking at all the leaders of this church, and if you're a leader outside and leader in your home, whatever it may be, if things need to be done, it starts with you. You are the one that starts it. Lazy leaders are the only people that sit around and see a problem and then expect others to just fix it for them. That's not what we're called to be. Leaders lead from the front. We see the problem and we step into it first. And you think about all the men, and not only do we step in first, but we're the last to leave. Just think about all like the really cool war stories from the past. The one, We Are Soldiers with Mel Gibson, I think about that all the time. Like in that story, you watch it all the way to the end. He was the first one onto the battlefield. And then at the very end of it, after all the carnage, after all the destruction, after all that he went through, he was the last man to step on a chopper to leave the field. That's what a leader does. A leader steps up. A leader takes charge. And a leader leads. He doesn't wait for his people to figure it out. He takes that charge. And so what's the people's response? So if that's how the leaders are supposed to act, if that's how the leaders are supposed to go, what do the people do? And we see their response immediately right after that in verse 2 through 4. It says, and then next to him the men of Jericho built, and then next to them Zakur the son of Imri built, the sons of Hassenaah, and built the fish gate. They laid its beams and set its doors and its bolts and its bars. And next to them Meremoth the son of Uriah the son of Hakoz repaired. And next to them Meshullam the son of Berechiah the son of Meshezabel repaired. And next to them Zadok the son of Baana repaired. And notice how it's talking about, it's like, and next to them, and next to them, and next to them, and next to them, and next to them. All of them got involved. They got shoulder to shoulder, and they did what needed to be done. They saw the leaders lead, and then they stepped in to follow. They got a part, and all of them, like I said, it wasn't just the priests working on everything. Because I think that's something that we fall into. We have also that problem of lazy leaders expecting people to get things done for them. But then we also have the other side where we have people just waiting for the leaders to just fix everything for them. And I mean, you don't even have to look further than just with our own country, right? How often do we look at all these problems we see in our life and we expect a president to fix it? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like things really haven't changed. Regardless of who you wanted in there, regardless of who you voted for, nothing's really changed. New Hope is still New Hope. Azle's still Azle. Springtown's still Springtown. Boyd is still Boyd. There's the problems that were there are still there. He didn't fix it. And so what are we going to do about it? We're just going to sit on our hands and wait? And then see people trying to step in and then not actually step up behind them to help? What are we going to do? What kind of people are we going to be? Because I know it's so easy to find problems, and I'm guilty of it, right? So easy to look at a situation, and it's so easy to get wrapped up in everything and just say like, oh man, that's a problem, it needs to be fixed. And then when there's an opportunity for you to step up, you just bypass it. You just say it's someone else's problem, somebody else's thing. And we actually see that there's actually a couple guys in this passage that are referred to that actually kind of get called out for doing that. If we look in chapter 3, verse 5, it says, and next to them the Tekoites repaired, but their nobles would not stoop to serve the Lord. Like, could you imagine that being written about you? Just input your name there. They wouldn't even stoop to serve the Lord. They thought that they were so high and mighty that this task of building a wall, that's for the poor people to do, or for the lesser people to do, or for the younger people to do, or for the older people to do, for that matter. Right? They saw this task and thought it was beneath them. But the reality is that there is no stooping in the kingdom of heaven. Every task is valuable. Every task is meaningful. Even a king is capable of cleaning the toilets in the kingdom of God. Everybody does, and it's not about status, it's not about privilege, it's not about how long you've been here, because you see this all the time. Leaders use this as an excuse. Well, I'm the leader, I don't have to do that. You see people that are just entitled. It's like, oh, well, I've got all these qualifications. That's beneath me. I'm just entitled to not have to do stuff like that. And then also, like, everybody knows a person at their job that's been there for 50 years that thinks just because I've been here 50 years, I've graduated past doing stuff like that. How often do we do that? How often do we find ourselves in those people? We find a task and we think that, oh, that's not important. Let somebody else do it. And these guys are going to be forever remembered as the men that wouldn't stoop to serve the Lord. They wouldn't humble themselves to realize the work that needed to be done. And they wouldn't step into it. But one thing we didn't read, I want to actually reach down and look a little bit later in the passage. There's another man that's referenced. His name is Malchiah. And Malchiah took on a job in verse 14. Let's go down there, chapter 3, verse 14. It says, Malchiah, the son of Rechab, ruler of the district of Beth-Haccherem, repaired the dung gate, rebuilt it, and set its doors and its bolts and its bars. Now, I don't know about you, but the thought of working on the gates where they carry out all the trash and all the dung and all the feces that everybody's dropped in the city, that doesn't sound like a very glorious job to me. Like that, like if I'm looking at a list of all the things to work on, like that's not going to be the one I pick. Like that's not my top 3. That's probably not my top 5. Honestly, it's probably not even going to make my list. It's like give me something else. Like, dude, like I'll just haul rocks. Just tell me where you want them. I'll do that instead. Like, right? But you see this guy, so you had nobles up above that wouldn't even stoop to serve the Lord, but you see this other noble, this other ruler, he got it. It's like, yeah, this gate needs to be built. This gate's important for the functioning of our city, and yeah, it's not going to have the most glorious of purposes, but it's necessary, and it's good work, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it faithfully. And if you notice, if you actually look in your scriptures in the way, like he gets his own little paragraph. Like, so the man that stooped, like what it seemed like stooped down to do this lowly level of task, gets his own paragraph and gets an extra layer of honor. And so when we look at these things, when we look at the world around us, our first response should be to be humble and take on the task, whatever it looks like. It may not be glorious. It may be scrubbing toilets here. It may be mowing lawn. Maybe whatever task you want to see it as. Every task is meaningful, every task is beautiful, and every task is necessary. All of them are done for the Lord, and the Lord sees every one of them. Every one of them. So if you don't feel seen by people, that's okay. God sees it. And when you get to the end and you give the account to the Lord, he will reward you. And so that's the passage. I know we moved through that pretty quick. Don't get too excited. We're going to be here a while. So now, but I wanted to get to this part. I wanted to set that framework because now I want to, like all of that, with that in mind, I want that to set us up to ask a couple questions. Because yes, it's great. We studied all these guys, all they did, how they rebuilt the temple. But what about me? Like, how does that impact me? Like, how do I get involved? Like, what is this? I don't even know where to begin. And so I want to ask 2 questions. I want to ask a how question and a why. The how question is like, how do I get from A to B? It's kind of the car. It's like, how do I do my part? How do I step into things? That's the car that gets you from A to B, that actually functions in how you move around in the world. But then I want to ask the why question, and that's the gas. That's the thing that gives you the power to get from A to B. Because if all you have is a how, then you're going to burn out real quick. And if all you have is a why, then you're never going to do anything, but you have really good intentions. And so I want to look today. And so, like I said, got to preach a little bit there. So now we're going to take a little time. I'm going to actually teach, and then I'll end it up with some preaching. I may cry at the end, and then we'll get out of here. All right? Sound good? All right, lock the doors. We got some time. I hope you eat some lunch. Okay, so how do we do our part? That's the first question. How? Like, I want to be like this. I want to step in. I want to be a part. And I know that's the heart of everybody in here. I want to make a difference. I want to do something. I want to be a part of something bigger than myself. But how? I have no idea how to even begin. Well, it's a great thing that you asked it, because that's what we're going to talk about. So the part that we do, how do we know our part, is it comes from seeing what God has given you. And that can be in three different ways. You have your giftings, your location, and your heart. Those are all three God-given, God-inspired things that he has placed on each and every one of you. And all of them are relevant. So, like I said, everybody has a gift. Everybody's living somewhere. And everybody, I think, has a heart. I don't know. If you don't, you need to get that looked at. But we'll see. So the first one I looked at is your giftings. So I want to go to 1 Corinthians 12, verse 4 through 7. There it says, "Now there are a variety of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are a variety of service, but the same Lord. And there are varieties of activities, but it's the same God who empowers them all in everyone. To each is given a manifestation of the Spirit for the common good." God has gifted you with something. And if you're like me, he hasn't gifted you with a beautiful voice, so you can't sing up here. But he's given you something. Everybody has a gift. No matter how small or insignificant you may think it is, it's a gift. How are you going to use it? A lot of times in our world today, it's so wrapped up in that I'm going to use my giftings to serve me. I'm going to get mine. I'm going to go conquer the world, make billions of dollars, have a super nice car and a big mansion, beautiful wife. Got most of that, but I got a beautiful wife. So it's all good. Right? So, that's the thing, is all of us try, in our culture today, it tries to get us to think of this idea that all of our giftings are meant to serve yourself. But that is completely backwards in the kingdom of God. Every gift you've been given, no matter how small, no matter how minor you think it is, your giftings are meant to serve others. Your giftings are meant to be used for the common good. Every single person here needs to do their part. Because if you don't, we are all missing out. We are all hurting. We are all suffering. We are all missing out because you're important. God placed you here. We'll get to that in a second, but God's placed you here to bless this place. And if everybody is focused on, I want to bless those around me, if everybody does that, guess what? Everybody gets taken care of. You don't have to worry about yourself if you're in a community that's devoted to taking care of one another. Is that the community we have? Is that the community you have in your life and in your home and with your family? What kind of community do we have? What kind of community do we want to build? And I said, we have all these families that are in these neighborhoods right over here. And if they were to walk in the door tomorrow, would you be ready to use your gifts to serve them? Would you be able to use your gifts to serve them? And not only them, but there's all look at all around you. All these beautiful people. I get to see all of you. It's actually kind of nice to look at you from up here. Some of you are kind of ugly to look at, but it's okay. But it's all right. Most of you are beautiful, so y'all make up for it, right? So but all of you guys are pretty awesome. And you guys are here. How can I serve you? How can I love you? How can I care for you? How do I die to myself, put my needs, my wants, my desires to the side, and live like Christ did and give myself up for the brothers? How do I do that? And so the question that you can ask yourself, like I said, is how can I use the gifts God has given me to serve him? How can I use them? Like I said, it may be small, maybe, and I don't know what those giftings are. That's for you to decide. If you feel like they're small, I promise you they're not. That's just an insecurity that's in you that is giving you an out to not use it. Your gifting is meaningful, and it's beautiful in the sight of God because he gave it to you. Use it. The second thing that he's given you is a location. And if we keep reading in Nehemiah chapter 3, down in verse 22 through 23, it says, "After him the priests, the men of the surrounding area, repaired. After them, Benjamin and Hashub repaired opposite their house. After them, Azariah, the son of Maaseiah, the son of Ananiah, repaired beside his own house. So even in this time where they're rebuilding the whole city, they delegated stuff based on where they lived. Right? So God's placed you here. He didn't put you in Oklahoma, thank God. He didn't put you in California, thank God. Or if he did, he brought you here quick, so well, glad to have you. Like God he didn't place you somewhere else. He put you right here, right now, in this time. There is a purpose for you in this life, where you are. How can you make a difference in your home, in your backyard, in your neighborhood, in your church? How do you make a difference? And so, because I think it's so many times we overlook these opportunities that we have to serve in our local area because we just got our blinders on. I'm just running from A to B to get to C and then hopefully end up at Z later tonight, which is my bed so I can sleep. Right? We're so busy, we're so overwhelmed, we're so anxious, we're so caught up in our own lives, in our own world that we're missing opportunities around us every single day. Are you like, if you're waiting for a neon sign to drop out of heaven and just like have a big arrow pointing like talk to this dude or help this dude in this way, like it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I wish, it'd be nice. It'd be kind of cool too. But ultimately, that's not how it works. So take a step back, look around your life. How can I make a difference in the place God's put me? Can I minister to my kids and grandkids? Can I check on the cashier at the restaurant that I go to every week? Can I get involved in a local group or club that's not associated with the church so that I can be a light in that group? Can I minister to a need that I find in my local community of people that are hurting, that are suffering, that are facing hardship, that need some help, that need some love? How can I minister to those people? How do I minister to the least of these? And it could be as simple as mowing your neighbor's yard because they can't. Like, everybody thinks it has to be these big, like, moments where, like, God shines down a pillar of fire, like, poof, lights everything up, and it goes, and it's just this awesome thing that everybody's going to talk about for all of eternity. But all of it is sometimes just as simple as the little things. Being around them, being in that place, talking to them, ministering to them, helping them with a small thing, opening up opportunities for you to share your faith with them. Not every single moment has to end with somebody repenting in sackcloth and ashes to be something done for the kingdom. Everything you do from the moment you wake up to the moment you lay down your head is meaningful because it's done for the kingdom. And so that brings us to our last one, your heart. That's something that's unique to you, right? Every one of us has a heart for something. And we see Jesus had a heart for people. As he was walking around and ministering to people and talking to them and stuff like that, we see his heart bleed all over the page. And no better example than in Matthew 9, verse 35 through 38. It says, "And Jesus went through all the cities and all the villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every disease and every affliction. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, 'The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore pray earnestly that the Lord of the harvest send out laborers into his harvest.'" And one of the things I loved in that passage at the very beginning is like when he saw the crowds, Jesus felt compassion for them. Like, what breaks your heart when you see it in your community? What's the thing that you see that when all that happens, it hits you in a little bit different way? Like there's evil and problems and stuff in the world, but there's something for you that just like strikes a nerve. And it's different than that for everybody. What is that thing that strikes a chord with you? What's that thing that pricks your heart the most, that makes you feel the most alive when you think about stepping in to serve it? God has placed that on your heart. God has given you a compassion for something. God has given you a vision for something that he doesn't give to me. And you guys are uniquely equipped and placed to meet that need in a way that I could never do it. All of you have something on your heart. Lean into it. Pray about it. Talk about it with the Lord. And I hope you notice in like all of this time that I've been talking about these three things, there hasn't been a single time in this talk that I've mentioned the word calling. I think in today's culture, we idolize this idea of being called. It's like, oh, I've been called to something. I'm special. I have a special stamp on my shoulder that says I'm called. We idolize our callings and we use that as an excuse to say, oh, I'm not called to that, so I'm not going to do it. And to a point, there's wisdom that needs to be used on when it comes to serving and like what you can do, because you are limited in what you can do. But don't hide behind a calling, or don't hide behind a lack of a calling either. If you see a need and you have the ability to address it and meet the need, lean in. Like, don't be afraid. Don't see all of these things, like I said, because it's just in our world today, it's so me-centric that then if all you are is focused on calling, then what you do is meant to actually serve you. Because at the end of the day, I got to fulfill my calling. I got to do my thing. I got to do this because that's what I'm called to do. In the end, it's really selfish. It's for selfish gain. Oh, I'm doing what I'm called to do. Really? How about the person that you had the opportunity to serve the other day that you walked past? What about that brother that needs help that you know he's needed help, but you haven't reached out? I mean, this is stuff that I'm wrestling with it myself. Opportunities that I just let pass by and pass by and pass by, while I give all the time and the devotion to things that are actually fit like what I feel called to serve me and my needs and my pride and my selfishness and my need to feel meaningful in the world. Callings happen. They're out there. But it's not because anybody was going around like clamoring like, I'm looking for a calling. Like most of the time, you're going to find your calling when you're 80 years old looking back at all the stuff you've done. Like a calling usually doesn't come on the front end. You don't realize it until the end. So stop worrying about a calling. Look around, seek the Lord, lean in. And so I said, so now we've talked about knowing your part, and that's the most important step, right? So what else do we do from there? Like after that, okay, I know my part. I know what I need to do. Now what? Like I see this need. I want to step in. So how can you prepare for your part? How do you get ready? Like how do you like step up and actually get behind the wheel and like start driving? Like what are the steps you take? I was like, I don't feel equipped to do that. Like, because that's a lot of the things that you're going to run into is like the biggest excuse people use for not stepping in is they don't feel ready. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to let you know a little secret. Nobody's ready. Nobody is. You're never going to be ready for everything that's going to happen while you're serving. Some of it you're figuring out on the fly. And to be honest with you, I'm figuring out most of this stuff on the fly too. Just because you don't feel ready now doesn't mean that's not what you're called to lean into. At the end of the day, you're responsible. Like, this is what the Lord has put on my heart, so what do I do? What did Nehemiah do? He felt a burden for his city. So what did he do? He just sit there and sulk in Persia, just waiting for something to happen? Just like, I would love to do it, follow the steps of Zerubbabel and go home. Like, no, like, he went to the king with a plan. He prepared himself. He got ready, and then he went back. He got everything he needed, and then he stepped into it and actually did it. So how can you prepare yourself? How do you get prepared to do your part? The first one I've already kind of mentioned is prayer. Just that moment of like, God, shape and mold me. Because there is a real sense in which a lot of the preparation you need is stuff you can't do on your own. And so if you're trying to prepare yourself apart from God, you're going to find yourself woefully unprepared. God, praying to God, God, give me a vision, help me to figure this out. And like, because so often when people like feel led to do something, they just jump right in like a bull in a china shop, and then they wonder why it didn't go well. It's like, yeah, well, because you didn't think about it. You just leapt. It's like, yes, lean in, but be wise in how you lean in. Get ready. Seek the Lord. Pray. God, help me, mold me, shape me, guide me. All of those questions are good things to bring to the Lord. The next thing that is important to help your preparation is discipleship in your local church. Like, that is why we're here. That's what we come together for. That's why we spend time together. That's why we do Sunday school. That's why we do Wednesday nights. That's why we do all the stuff that we do is geared towards discipling and equipping you with what you need so you can go do it. Because I can think of a lot of better things to do on a Sunday morning than showing up for a TED Talk. I would love to sleep. It'd be so nice. Sleep in, wake up around 11 o'clock. Hadn't happened in years, but it'd be nice, right? So why do we get up? Why do we come here? Why do we come in here, obviously, to worship the Lord and to seek him and to make him known in our lives and honor him as the God that saved us? But another reason we gather is to be equipped. So as I come, as I worship my God, I learn more about him. I know him more. I know those around me more. And now I'm able to go out and do what he's laid on my heart to do. And so it says here in Ephesians 4, it says, and he gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the shepherds, and the teachers to equip the saints for the work of ministry, for the building up of Christ, the body of Christ. So if you need help, that's what my brother Jim, Tyler, Luke, Jamie, Dale, Brian, all of the deacons, Mark, all these Sunday school teachers, Tim, all of us are here to serve you that way. If you need help, come to us. That's what we're here for. We want to see you succeed. We want to see you do well, because if you do well, we all do well. If one ministry succeeds, we all succeed. If one ministry is hurting, we're all hurting. We are one family, one body, one church. We take care of each other. And if you need something, this is the place to come. It's an open invitation. You don't have to wait. Go kick in his door. It's open most of the time, but you can go kick it in if it's closed. Get the help you need. We're here for you. We want to be here for you. It's not like a begrudging thing. You're not going to inconvenience us. That's what we signed up for. This is the time. If something's been on your heart and you haven't felt equipped or ready to do it, pull one of us aside this next week. And then we'll figure out how to make it happen and empower you and equip you to do what God's led you to do. And then the next one, I think this is probably kind of goes hand in hand, but a personal devotion to growth and development. I know that one is probably not the most exciting one on the list. I think you guys would like to just snap your fingers and just be there, right? But the truth is, preparation comes with time. You're going to have to put in time and effort, studying the word, spending time together, growing in your faith, and not just your faith, but in your skills. Because sometimes the thing you step into is going to require some skills that aren't Bible knowledge. So taking that time and personal devotion to grow in your faith and to get there. And then the last one I want to share with you guys is to develop a deep reliance on God for strength to endure. And this is another one that's probably not high on the list of things that people are excited about when they first launch a ministry. You don't like going into it thinking about, I can't wait for all the terrible times that I want to quit. I long for that day when I'm just sitting there crying, not knowing what to do next. No, nobody sets out with that in mind. Nobody sets out on the first step with that as the thing that's man, what are you excited about? Despair. No, that's not what people are excited about. But the truth is it happens, and it happens to everybody. And what is the thing that sustains you when you hit that wall? What is the thing that keeps you going when it gets hard? Because I promise, speaking from experience in recent events, starting something new is very hard. Starting something new that nobody's ever done before in an area where it's not common to do stuff like that is hard. And it's easy to get discouraged, and it's easy to want to give up, but you keep going because it's worth it. Don't do it because you think it's going to be glamorous and you're going to get on the front page of the news, and I guess nobody really does that, but I guess go viral online or something like that, whatever the common thing is for today. If that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for all of that explosion and recognition, you're in the wrong business. The kingdom of God has been advanced for 2,000 years, mostly by people that we don't know their name, in a place that we've never heard of, in the back room of a house that's not standing anymore. And it was little people doing little acts of faithfulness over and over and over and over and over again for 2,000 years. That's how the kingdom of God has gone forward. And that's how it's going to continue to go forward until the Lord comes home. Then we get some fireworks, right? And so the last one to kind of think about on this is to engage your part. How do you engage your part? Just do it. Stop waiting. You're sitting on the couch waiting for yourself to get more prepared, it's not going to happen. You're sitting on the couch waiting for something to come along that's going to make it seem a lot better, but it's not going to happen. Get up. Do it. Simple, yet hard. And so that brings us to the last question. Why? We talked about how. We kind of got to spend a little bit of time reflecting on how am I actually going to do this? That's great and wonderful, but like I said, this sermon, I hope that it blesses you guys and charges you up to go do it. But this sermon is you're probably going to forget it before you get to your car. You're going to eat your lunch and you're going to forget all of it for sure. Especially if you go get something like tacos or quesadillas, right? Like all of that's just going to right out their mind, right? So what is the thing that's going to keep you going? It's not me preaching. It's not Brother Jim preaching. It's not Tyler preaching or Tim. Or a lesson that you're going to learn. Like there's something deeper in this that's going to keep you going. What is that? Why do I do this? And the biggest reason, the biggest why that we have, and it's going to, bear with me for a second because it's going to kind of seem like it's a little bit off subject, but it says because we've been invited to be a part of God's divine mission to build a church and establish his eternal kingdom. In Matthew 16, verse 16 through 18, it says, and this is what Jesus with his disciples, and Jesus said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter replied, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood have not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." God is on a mission to build a church. So what is a church? His church is not a building we gather in, so it's not this place. And that's pretty easy, right? Like you see a lot of people nowadays kind of talking about that, like, oh, the church is not a building. It's like, yeah, we get that. But a lot of times I say, like, I am the church. And that is wrong. You, as an individual, are not the church. We are the church. The church, and it's because like we kind of use it as a catch-all term now, but a church, it's the gathering of all believers, or a better way of saying it, the assembly of all believers in all times, in all places, going back to the garden. From the moment that that Adam and Eve fell in the garden, God has been on a mission to gather a people that love him. He's even went as far as to send his only son to die in our place. God is gathering a people. And we are a part of that, absolutely. New Hope is a part of that. But the kingdom is so much bigger than just New Hope. Our God is getting a people, or gathering a people, and the gates of hell will not stop him from gathering his people. Our God is mighty to save. And so some of you may have not trusted the Lord. You may not be a part of the gathering, the assemblies of the people. And so before you even do your part, you have to become a part of the people. I'm here to tell you that there's a God that loved you so much that he gave his son to die for you. He did all the work. He did his part. And his part was saving us completely. Doing something we could never do on our own. And when he saved you, or when he saves you, you're invited into something so much bigger than yourself. So much more meaningful. People are bored with the Christian life because they don't realize how amazing it is. If you're settling for sitting in a pew, you're missing it. If you're settling for showing up on a Sunday and going home feeling a little bit better about yourself, you're missing it. God has so much more for you. Why don't you lean in? And so why do we talk about this? Why bringing up the kingdom and God building a church? What does that have to do with me? God's doing all the work, right? He's building everything. And that's because God has commissioned us to serve with him as he builds. And commission is a fancy word for saying basically, like another way of saying it is like charged. Basically, it's like you've been voluntold. Like God said, hey, you're going, right? And so the big voluntold passage of the scriptures is Matthew 28. It says, and this is right before Jesus ascends into heaven. It says, now the 11 disciples went to Galilee on the mountain to which Jesus had directed them. And when they saw him, they worshiped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came and said to them, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I've commanded you. And behold, I'm with you always to the end of the age. And so if you don't know what part to do, like that's enough of a part right there. Go make disciples, not converts. Like, we don't need that. Like, we're not looking to just get people to intellectually say, yeah, Jesus is Lord. That's cool. No, like we want actual disciples, people devoted to living a life for God, with God. That's what we're after. That's what God's called us to go for. And so, one of the things in this passage that kind of always like takes me aback a little bit is like, this is like they've seen Jesus rise from the dead. He's appeared multiple times to like 500 people. And then in this moment, they come to the end, and it says that when they saw him, they worshiped him, but some doubted. Don't think that they were doubting who Jesus was. They worshiped him right in the sentence before that. They knew who he was. They weren't doubting Jesus. They were doubting themselves. They're like, dude, you just rose from the dead. Like, this is the greatest miracle that's ever happened in the history of ever. The Son of God died and rose again to save us all. And then now you're leaving us? Now you're going back to heaven to, like, you're leaving us? Like, dude, I was a fisherman like 3 years ago. Like, I'm not ready for this. They were doubting themselves. And what was the comfort that God gave them? He said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. And then at the very end, he tells them, I will be with you always to the end of the age. So if you're scared, you're in good company. But don't be afraid, because God is with you always. Not sometimes, not only when you feel him close. He is with you in the highest of highs and in the lowest of lows. And so if Jesus has all power, if Jesus has all authority, and if Jesus is always with us, why wouldn't I go? You have everything you need. You have it all. He's given you gifts. He's given you a location. He's given you a heart. And most importantly, he's given you himself. What are you waiting for? And before we close it out, so glad I printed off. I didn't think I'd have enough time. Y'all are lucky. I moved quicker than I thought. I was about to unlock the doors again. So, okay, but one thing I wanted to share with you guys before we go, this is a poem that a guy named C.T. Studd wrote a long time ago. He was a missionary around the world, and he was a stud. He was a pretty good dude. And so he wrote this poem, and it's a poem I heard a long time ago, and it's one that just every time I read it, it encourages me. And so now as we kind of wrap up today, as I read over this poem, as we enter into a time of prayer and invitation, be asking yourself some of those questions that we talked about. Like, How has God gifted me? How can I make a difference where I am? What provokes my heart when I see it happening or going on? And so this is the poem, It's Only One Life by C.T. Studd. It says, 2 little lines I heard one day, traveling along life's busy way, bringing conviction to my heart, and from my mind would not depart. Only one life, 'twill soon be past. Only what is done for Christ will last. Only one life, yes, only one. Soon will its fleeting hours be done. Then in that day my Lord to meet and stand before his judgment seat. Only one life, 'twill soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. Only one life, the still small voice gently pleads for a better choice, bidding me selfish aims to leave and to God's holy will to cleave. Only one life, 'twill soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. Only one life, a few brief years, even with its burdens, hopes, and fears. Each with its clays I must fulfill, living for self or in his will. Only one life, 'twill soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. When this bright word would tempt me sore, when Satan would a victory score, when self would seek to have its way, then help me, Lord, with joy to stay. Only one life will soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. Give me, Father, a purpose deep, in joy or sorrow thy word to keep, faithful and true in every way, or in ever the strife, pleasing thee in my daily life. Only one life, 'twill soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. Oh, let my love with fervor burn. From the world now let me turn, living for thee and thee alone, bringing thee pleasure on thy throne. Only one life, 'twill soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. One life, yes, only one. Now let me say, thy will be done. And when at last I'll hear the call, I'll say 'twas worth it all. Only one life, 'twill soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. Only what is done for him will last. All these temporary things that fill our minds and days and weeks and calendars and text messages and social medias, everything that we see on a daily basis will pass away like a vapor. Everything in this life apart from God is absolutely meaningless. There's not a single thing in this life that is worth doing unless it's done with the Lord. And he's inviting you, and I would even say, going back to that passage, the commission, he's commanding you to get involved, to step in. Live the life that I've called or put before you. Live it. And so I would like to invite our deacons forward as we enter this time of invitation. And so just as we go through this time, like I said, just please be praying.